Hey, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be checking out some awesome smart home tech. Now, this video is sponsored by SmartWINGS, the brand that makes a lot of smart blinds and things like that. And that's what we're going to be focusing on. We're going to be focusing on a set of smart blinds. Now, these are going to be battery powered with solar panels and all kinds of awesome tech. So if you want to see some stuff like that, definitely stick around. We're going to jump through the unboxing. We'll check out the website. We'll go through a quick install process because this isn't really like a DIY home improvement channel, but we'll go through a super fast install process, and then we'll get to testing it out, trying it with the Alexa and see how it works. Now, the ones that I picked up are Zigbee, so they do require a smart home hub that supports Zigbee. Now, my Alexa that I picked up is the Amazon Echo Dot Max, and it has a smart home hub built into it for Zigbee. So that's something to keep in mind with these ones. There are a couple different motor options, but we'll go through that on the website. If you want to see some stuff like that, definitely stick around. I'm going to roll that intro. My name is Connor, and this is where the informal tech reviews live. Let's jump straight into the website. Now, these are the ones that I did end up picking up. The SmartWINGS motorized roller shades, 100% Blackout Safari. And so right off the bat, you can see the price is $199 USD. And there's a few different colors, right? And so this is super important because if you're installing blinds, you don't want to be stuck with one color. I believe the ones that we went with were biscuit. Yeah, the biscuit looks right. And so this is the color that we ended up going with because the room that we had to put them in is more brown, but there's some information on here. And so you can see right away that the up and down can be scheduled on timers and things like that. But the big thing that I want to note, which we'll show later in the install and practical application part, is with these ones specifically, what I really liked is up here at the top, there was like a little brush guard that kind of helps to block out the light from coming on top. So I've noticed on a few of my other blinds that I have around the house, the blackout works, but the light creeps in from the top and the sides. Now with this one, the sides do still get the light creep, but SmartWINGS has thought that through as well. So we'll get to that in just a little bit. But you can see the solar panel is optional, and you can use a USB plug to charge it up. And so what I ended up doing was opting for the solar panel because I personally believe that if you have smart blinds, having to keep charging them over and over again is definitely like a hindrance, right? And so it looks like you can charge for 6 hours and then it runs up to 600 times. And they say that's about a half a year. If you're like me and you just got them, you're going to play with them a ton. And so that might not last that long. But I think as you get used to them, it's sort of like a new smartphone. You know, the battery is not super great when you first get it because you're going to be playing with it more often. But once you get into the swing of it, you know, you start to ease into it and definitely becomes more normal for you. You could use a power bank or whatever you wanted to. And obviously you can just plug it into the wall if you choose to too. That's what I ended up doing when I first installed them, just to make sure that they're topped up before I switched over to the solar panel, is I plugged them in, let them charge for a while, and then switched over to the solar panel afterwards. Now, this is just a close-up of the fabrics. You can see there's a little bit difference in colors, but you can see the solar panel just mounts to the window with some 3M. I was able to put it up high enough that when the window is all the way open, you can't really see it, and we'll show that in the install as well. It does come with a controller, which on setting 0 right here can control all the blinds in an area, which is nice, and you can control each one individually per its channel, so that's really cool. There's a couple different options, right? So you can do Matter over Thread and use it this way. There's also these Alexa Zigbee, which is the way that I went with. And I believe I touched on it already, but I ended up picking up the Echo Dot Max because it has the Zigbee hub built into it. And that's important because if you get the Zigbee version, you have to have a Zigbee compatible hub. And so definitely keep that in mind. But the remote can control up to 15 devices, and it can also use a Z-Wave remote. So these are all important things. There's different kinds of valences. So you can see the fabric insert one is the one that I went with, but there's also just the deco bar, as they put it, and then the square version. The square also looks pretty nice. Going through the order process is pretty simple. You have to make sure you measure it well. I'm not going to run through super detailed on that, but you just fit in your information in here. You select your motor type, and so we'll run through those really quickly. And so you can see the standard motor doesn't cost any extra. and it is still battery powered. It uses the remote, but that's about it. You can't connect it to any smart devices aside from the remote. And so you'll be wanting to look at upgrading if you care about that type of information. And so the Zigbee motor is the one that works with the Alexa hub or the Google Assistant, as long as you have a Zigbee hub. So if you have a Zigbee hub or a SmartThings hub, you can definitely still use this and use application control. There's also the Alexa motor, which is a little bit misleading in the way that it's advertised here, because it does show you which ones you need, and the Echo Dot Max is one of them as well, but really this is just the Zigbee motor. And so if you get with the Alexa one, know that you have to have an Alexa that is Zigbee powered. And that's basically the same as having the Zigbee motor. So keep that in mind. The Z-Wave Plus motor, you need a Z-Wave hub or a SmartThings hub as well, and you can see that it connects with all these types of devices, and it depends on the type of technology that you're using. So definitely make like a calculated decision when you're going through the motor selection. There's also Matter over Thread, so that's something to keep in mind. If you have a Matter set up, definitely use the Matter version. So far in my testing, the Alexa motor, which is a Zigbee motor, has worked pretty well. There are a few quirks, which we'll talk about at that part, but definitely consider that. The bottom bar does have a couple different options as well. I believe we just went with like the standard one, or it might have been, actually it was the fabric wrapped one. And then the solar panel is $49 extra, but this is, at least in my testing so far, I haven't had it installed that long, so I can't really say for sure how much the solar panel helps, but I imagine it's going to allow you to charge less often, if not never, depending on where you install it in your house and how much sunlight it's getting. That'll dictate, how often you still need to charge, but in theory, you shouldn't ever need to charge if you have the solar panel, as long as it's getting optimal sunlight. Now, the remote, you do have to add one remote for at least like your house, right? So you don't need a ton of remotes everywhere. You need at least one for initial setup, and that's to be able to connect it to your other devices if you have that need. But what I would recommend is definitely get at least one remote. And like I touched on just a little bit before, you can have it on channel 0, which will control everything around it. And you can have it on the individual channels for the individual blinds. Now, making your selection of roll type, you can have standard or reverse. And reverse is going to be like out away from the window more, and standard is going to be closer to the window. The motor side, they actually recommended using the right side motor if you have the solar panels. So that's another item to watch out for. All right, and down here we have the light blockers. Now this is an important section because when we set up ours, it was definitely leaking light on the side, just like in this picture. So I would recommend, if you're trying to get the super dark room effect, looking at the light blockers. Okay, so just like in this picture, you can see before use, you still have the light on the side, and then after use, totally dark. And they have this version, so there's like the sidebar, and then there's also a rail track, which you can see is like gonna grab onto the blind or the shade. But I would recommend those if you're trying to do it in a bedroom and trying to make it super dark. All right, that's about it. Now, it does mention that it's 4 to 6 months on a full charge, so it's definitely to be considered when using something that's battery powered. If you want solar panel, or if you want to just top them up every now and then. If you had like a bunch of blinds that you needed to top up every 4 to 6 months, and it wouldn't probably be all at the exact same time, that might get a little bit tedious, but solar panel is definitely something that I would recommend. You can always add one later. And honestly, it's just USB, so you could probably grab any random solar panel on Amazon as well. But let's move over to the unboxing, the install, and get using it and see what we think. It says the remote is prepared, so that's good to know. To pop these off, you do a push in and lift up. That's pretty cool. And so we'll want one here, there, and there. Okay, so to turn them on, tap and hold right here. Does that little motion. Definitely have to make sure it's like super duper clean when you go to do the solar panel install. And you literally just push it on. Now, the one thing I would note is the sides do have a lot of leakage, but there's actually an accessory on that on the website. There's also this up underneath here that I don't know if there's anything we could do about that to get this light to stop coming in. I suppose, honestly, you could stick something up there against the window to darken it. I do like how they have like the brush on the top. Probably need to adjust it a little bit right there. But yeah, if I want to control this one, this is number 2. Oh, that's down. Okay. If I want to stop it, if I want to switch and control this one, go to number 1. And if I want to control both, that's 0. And there we go. Okay, so I want to adjust the lower limit. And in order to do that, you go to the control setting for this blind and bring it all the way down. And you can see I have a bit of a gap here at the bottom. That's fine, because what we have to do is hit minus and down for 5 seconds. Now it's the same for the upper limit if you wanted to adjust that. 5 seconds. And then I can go up, up. But see, right now I can see the solar panel. Don't want that. So that's going to be my upper limit. All right, when you're ready to hook it up to your Alexa, what you have to do is hit this button on the motor head and you hold it for a few seconds. You'll see the blinds move 2 times and then the light will turn red and you're good to go. Next, you'll tell your smart device to discover your devices. Alexa, discover my devices.
All right, I've kicked off the discovery process for you. Make sure your gadgets are powered up and ready to pair. Then check the Alexa app in a few minutes to see what's been found.
So I heard it make some noise. I'm wondering if maybe it already worked. So once they connect, you'll see them in the Alexa app and you can see it says first blind, second blind. So now it says it's opening and the device is unresponsive, but let me see if I can move it. I switched it to 100% and you can see that it started closing. So maybe now if I say, Alexa, close second blind. Okay, I mean, it started opening, but you can see it did try to do something.
The second blind appears to be having issues, so please go check on it.
Alexa, open second blind. Interesting. It's backwards. Okay, so I need to create a routine because what I noticed is when I tell it to open or close the individual blinds, it is doing the opposite, right? So if I tell it to open, it'll close. If I tell it to close, it'll open. When I just say like close the blinds, it'll actually close them. So let's do voice. Anyone says close the blinds. Please close the windows. Close the shades. Next, it will smart home, interior blinds. So opening 100% is closed. Smart home, interior blinds, second blind, opening 100%. First blind. Okay, both of them are in there. So that's for close the blinds. May take a minute. Now let's create another one for open the blinds. So now I can try it. Alexa, close the blinds.
Okay.
There we go. Perfect. And you can see just how dark it gets in here. without those side blackout pieces that I mentioned before. Alexa, open the blinds.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so that's a weird quirk. All right, what do we think for final thoughts? Now, I really like the blinds. The install was super easy. The one that I had, the valence that I had, I needed to push the windows or the install brackets all the way up to the window. So that made install super easy because I didn't have to worry about like lining it up and making sure that it's not crooked because, you know, the window is going to be flat. So the install was flat. Now, installing and pushing them on was great because it has like that sort of push and clip mechanism. And so if I want to take them back off, I just have to push them back and unclip them. So that was really easy to do. Getting them put into the Alexa was interesting. But yeah, overall, adding the Zigbee hub with the Alexa is probably a good addition to the smart home. Now it opens up a lot of capabilities and possibilities for the house. And so definitely going to be looking into more of that. I do think that it's a little awkward having to use like the opposite command to open them. So like right now, telling it to open blind 1, does what I believe is closing the blinds, right? Making it darker is closing to me. But I can see if I do the mental gymnastics that opening the blinds would be like unraveling the blinds. So like, you know what I mean? And so that's what I think the logic is behind it. Either that or it's just backwards. Either way, I was able to set up that routine and do a workaround. If I want to open both of them, I can say open both. And you know, if I really wanted to do individual ones, I still have the remote, or I can just use the command in what feels like backwards. But not a huge king. So I would say SmartWINGS, if you're listening, that doesn't feel totally intuitive. I would probably flip that to where if I say open, it makes the room brighter, like it retracts the blinds, and then, you know, opposite for closing. Definitely still an awesome set of blinds. And I would say the only other thing of note was with the Alexa, if I told it to open and close the blinds, it would always say that there was an issue, but it would do the command. So I think it's firing off the Zigbee signal, but then it's not getting the response that it's looking for or something like that, because it's saying that there's an issue, but it doesn't appear to be an issue. So that may be off-putting to some people, but I don't get those warnings when I use the routine and it's controlling both of them at the same time. So that's something to keep in mind if you wanted to get those. All right, those are the SmartWINGS smart blinds. What do you think? Definitely an awesome addition to any smart home. And I think they're definitely cheaper than the ones that I saw at places like Lowe's and stuff. But if you guys do pick up these, definitely use the links in the comment section in the description. It does help out the channel. And again, thank you to SmartWINGS for sponsoring the video. One downside of having this awesome sponsored video is now I have to go out and buy a bunch of blinds because after having installed them, they're definitely an awesome addition to the house, and I want to add them on pretty much all the windows. Probably not every single one. Like, I don't know if I don't need to put them on the kids' windows, but we'll see. And for the viewers, definitely thank you for sticking around as long as you have. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to see more awesome tech videos, hit the subscribe button. On the Informal Tech channel, we review everything from smart glasses to EVs and smart homes and everything in between. If it's awesome tech, we're going to review it. Definitely appreciate you guys sticking around. We'll talk to you next time. Until then, my name is Connor, and this is where the Informal Tech reviews live. Peace. All right, and here's the look from the outside of where that solar panel sits. You can just barely see it, but it's visible. So if that's something that would bother you, you need to keep that in mind. Doesn't bother me none though. Hopefully it's not too high. I think maybe the roof will block the sun, but I don't imagine it needs that many hours of sunlight a day to keep charged. I'll report back.